All right, diving right in today. We're tackling dating after 30. You guys send in a ton of Reddit comments, all from this thread, started by a woman who is, well, kind of freaking out about being a leftover.
Ooh, what word, right?
Yeah, leftover. Like, what are we, Thanksgiving turkey?
It is a pretty dehumanizing way to talk about people, and it's interesting how much anxiety it provokes. This whole idea of an expiration date on finding love.
Totally. And, it's not just the women posting. The reactions from guys in the thread were wild. Some were super supportive, though. Lots of, hey, women over 30 are amazing, maturity, experience, the whole package.
Right, like they get it. They're looking for a partner, not a prom date. So refreshing to see that.
One guy even said stability and spice. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, not bad. Though, not everyone was quite so evolved.
Oh, yeah, the other side of that coin, right?
Yeah, some were definitely still stuck on the whole younger is better thing. Talking about less baggage, which, let's be real, is a loaded term.
Big time. Like, everyone has baggage. It's called life experience.
Yeah.
Though I did notice even the guys who preferred younger women, most of them at least stayed away from the really nasty leftover talk.
Yeah, that's true. It's like they had a preference, but they weren't being jerks about it. Then you had the other end of the spectrum.
Right, got ugly.
Exactly. Suddenly, women over 30 are bitter, damaged goods. Too much baggage, can't handle them. It's like they skipped right past a whole decade of personal growth and went straight to stereotype central.
Makes you wonder, are men ever leftovers? Like, no one's calling them day-old bread.
Right. So much of this comes down to double standards. Society expects men to age like fine wine, while women are supposed to be eternally fresh-baked.
It's like they think we come with an expiration date stamped on our foreheads.
Yeah.
Which is so messed up because, as we all know, we get more interesting, more confident, more ourselves with time.
Exactly. And that's attractive. It's just that some people are still stuck on these outdated ideas about what makes a woman valuable.
And speaking of outdated ideas, I couldn't help but notice how often this red pill stuff popped up.
Ah, yes, the red pill.
Some were straight up saying this whole leftover thing is basically Andrew Tate's playbook.
Which, well, that's a whole other conversation. But it is fascinating how these ideas, which are frankly pretty archaic, are finding new life online.
It's like they're repackaging old stereotypes for a new generation. Ugh, depressing. But, not all the comments were doom and gloom. There was actually a lot of good advice in there, too.
Oh, absolutely. For every comment echoing those harmful stereotypes, there were tons pushing back and offering genuine support.
Okay, so tell me about the good stuff. What were people saying that actually made sense?
Well, a lot of it was about shifting the focus away from this external pressure and really embracing personal growth.
So instead of freaking out about being single at 30, what, you should be hitting the self-help aisle?
Well, not necessarily. It's more about recognizing that being single isn't a failure. It's an opportunity to really invest in yourself and figure out what you truly want.
Ooh, I like that. Like, 30 isn't the finish line, it's the starting line.
Exactly. And a lot of the advice was about ditching the superficial checklist and really focusing on substance over surface.
So forget the six-pack abs in the corner office. What really matters?
Things like emotional intelligence, empathy, shared values, the stuff that actually makes for a strong foundation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's easy to say that when you're looking at it from the outside. Like, how do you actually navigate the dating scene after 30 when all this pressure is swirling around?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And luckily, there were a lot of commenters who had been there, done that, and were willing to share their wisdom.
All right, spill the tea. What did they say?
Well, first and foremost, embrace your age. Don't try to hide it or downplay it. Own your experiences and the wisdom you've gained. It's what makes you unique and attractive.
Love that. It's about owning your narrative instead of letting society write it for you.
Exactly. And along with that, be clear about what you're looking for. What are your non-negotiables? What values are essential to you and a partner? Don't be afraid to articulate those things, even if it means being selective.
Know your worth.
Exactly. You deserve to be with someone who aligns with your vision for a fulfilling relationship.
Okay, so embrace your age, know your worth. Anything else?
Oh, there's more. A lot of the advice was about, well, getting off the apps and focusing on real-world connections.
Wait, so ditch Tinder?
Well, not necessarily ditch it, but don't let it be your only avenue for meeting people. Get involved in activities you enjoy, join groups, attend events, be open to serendipitous encounters.
So put yourself out there. even if it's a little scary.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Sometimes the most unexpected encounters lead to the most magical connections. But there's something really important to remember here. Those Reddit comments, while insightful, are just a tiny snapshot. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity bias of online forums, but real-world dating is much more nuanced.
Good point. It's like anything online. You got to take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and trusting your own journey. And speaking of journeys, before we go any further, I wanted to mention.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you guys are digging this conversation and you want more thought-provoking deep dives like this one, be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul.
And don't forget our YouTube channel.
Yeah, search for Shauna Pelage. We've got a ton of great stuff over there, too. But for now, back to dating after 30.
Right, where were we? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
tons of people were sharing their stories about finding love after 30.
Oh, so it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
What were some of the highlights?
So many of them talked about finding love in the most unexpected places, like pottery class, through mutual friends, even while volunteering.
Oh, that's so sweet. It's like, stop looking and love finds you.
Right, and I think there's something to that. When you're busy living your life, pursuing your passions, you radiate a certain energy.
It's attractive. Like, hey, I'm doing my thing. Come along for the ride if you want.
Exactly. And you're also less likely to settle because you're already content with yourself.
Makes sense. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone to complement you.
Perfectly put. And a lot of them talked about how important it is to be patient with the process.
Yeah, I bet that's tough, especially when you're feeling the pressure of those societal expectations.
Oh, for sure. But they all said the same thing. When they finally let go of the timeline, that's when love showed up.
It's like the universe was saying, okay, finally, you're ready.
Right. And they also talked a lot about self-acceptance, like really embracing who they are, flaws and all.
Because at the end of the day, you got to love yourself before you can truly love someone else, right?
Absolutely. It's about radiating a sense of wholeness, and that's what attracts people.
Confidence is key.
Hmm.
What else do they have to say? Anything about, like, the actual relationship?
Well, this came up a lot. Shared values. They said it was crucial to be on the same page about the big stuff.
Like family, kids, career goals.
Exactly. That kind of alignment creates a strong foundation for a lasting relationship.
It's about building a life together, not just having a +1 for Saturday night.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So if we had to distill all of this into a few key takeaways for dating after 30, what would they be?
Well, first and foremost, ditch the leftover label. It's toxic and completely untrue.
Agreed. What else?
Embrace your age. It's not a liability, it's an asset.
You got it?
And remember, self-love and personal growth are essential.
So true.
Oh, and don't be afraid to be clear about what you're looking for in a partner. Don't settle.
Right. Know your worth.
And last but not least, be open to unexpected connections. Love can show up in the most surprising ways.
Well said. So to anyone out there feeling anxious about dating after 30, remember, you've got this.
You are worthy of love and happiness. Keep your heart open, your standards high, and keep shining.
And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us for this deep dive into dating after 30.
If you enjoyed this conversation and you want more like it,
Be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul.
and check out our YouTube channel, Shauna Pelage.
We've got tons of inspiring content coming your way. Thanks for being part of the community.
See you next time.
Keep those Voices of the Soul voices ringing.
So we talked about the pressures and the advice, but you know what really stood out to me? The comments from people who found love after 30. Like, they had actual success stories.
Yeah, those were so heartwarming. It gives you hope, right? Like, okay, maybe it's not all downhill after you blow out the candles on that three-dough cake.
Exactly. And it wasn't just like, oh, I found someone. It was more like, I found someone amazing in the most unexpected way.
Oh, tell me more about that. Like, where were these people finding love?
All over the place. Pottery class, through mutual friends, volunteering at an animal shelter. It's like life just happened, you know?
They weren't even looking, and bam, Cupid's arrow strikes. I loved that.
Me too. And so many of them said the same thing. Once they stopped focusing on finding the one and just focused on living their lives, that's when it happened.
So basically, stop trying so hard
Yeah.
and just enjoy the ride.
Pretty much. You radiate a different energy when you're happy and fulfilled. Plus, you're less likely to settle for someone who's not right for you.
Makes sense. You're not coming from a place of desperation. You're coming from a place of strength.
Exactly. And along those lines, a lot of them talked about the importance of patience and self-acceptance.
Yeah, I bet that's tough when everyone around you's seemingly coupled up and hitting those milestones.
For sure. But they all said that once they learned to be okay with being single, that's when the right person came along.
It's like you have to be whole on your own before you can be part of a whole with someone else, right?
Absolutely. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier about knowing your worth. When you value yourself, you attract people who value you too.
So in a nutshell,
Yeah.
what would you say is the key to finding love after 30, based on all these Reddit wisdom nuggets?
Well, first and foremost, ditch the negativity. Throw out those labels, those societal expectations, all that noise.
Okay, got it. Chuck the leftover label in the trash.
Exactly. Then focus on you. What brings you joy? What are your passions? What are your non-negotiables?
So basically, get your own life in order before you try to merge it with someone else's.
Exactly. And while you're doing all that, be open to the unexpected. Love can show up in the most surprising ways.
Like at pottery class? Who knew? Well, I think that about wraps it up for our deep dive into dating after 30.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground, but the main takeaway is this.
You are worthy of love and happiness, no matter your age or relationship status.
Keep those standards high, those hearts open, and keep on shining.
And on that note, a huge thank you to everyone for joining us today. If you want more thought-provoking conversations like this one, be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul.
And don't forget our YouTube channel, Shauna Pelage. We've got tons of great content over there, too.
All right, everyone, until next time, keep those Voices of the Soul voices ringing.